So you'll all remember, before the show even came out, what was it that was the inspiration behind the Acolyte? It was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Everything you need to know about the Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte. It was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Now, after watching the series, going back and thinking about this, like, what are you talking about? Where's the Frozen element in this series? Where's the Kill Bill element in this series? Is it just because it's a revenge plot? Not that the revenge really, like, it's so convoluted in regards to the revenge that we see in this show. But is that what related it to Kill Bill? I still don't see the connection or the distinction with the Frozen stuff. I certainly don't see that. But it goes even further, right? The Acolyte was inspired by this iconic Star Wars game. And she's talking about Darth Trayer. Apathy is death. You know, and it's funny, she talks about how she wants to reference, or she wants to bring in or mention Darth Bane. Darth Bane's a thousand years in the past. This is where you start to see the disconnect from actual Star Wars. She goes on to talk about how she is a massive Star Wars fan still, and, you know, she was sort of nerding out basically about the possibility of bringing him in or mentioning it or something. But this is the thing. As soon as you've got established lore on a character and the way the character is and the lifespan of a character and all of these sorts of things, and as soon as you start changing that, it no longer is Star Wars anymore, right? But again, so she was inspired by Darth Trayer. She was inspired by this iconic character in an iconic Star Wars game. But then what else inspired her? Oh, as we're coming through and we get to see what Smilo without a shirt on, Elden Ring players inspired Star Wars The Acolyte villain. Okay. So we've gone from Frozen meets Kill Bill to Darth Trayer being an inspiration to Elden Ring being an inspiration. And what's the newest one? Cowboy Bebop. The Acolyte creator, Leslye Headland, says Disney Star Wars series was tonally inspired by Cowboy Bebop. What are you talking about, Leslye? This is what I mean when I say that she's completely, she's one of those chronic liars. She's lied about being a Star Wars fan. She doesn't know what she's pulling inspiration from. Like, what? Why? It would make more sense to me if she was to say that she was inspired by The Fugitive, because we get a scene from The Fugitive.
Put that gun down! Put that gun down!
Stop! In the name of the Republic and the Jedi Order!
I didn't do it!
I didn't kill my wife!
I don't care!
Or, you know, the amount of plagiarized stuff that we saw in this series. You had the moment where Smilo says, oh, only what you take with you, copying Yoda from Empire Strikes Back.
It blocks out all your senses.
So it's just you and the Force. And what you bring with you.
What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Or you've got him, again, the same character, plagiarizing lines from Palpatine or the Emperor in Return of the Jedi.
Good, May. Feel your anger. This is the source of your pain. Strike them down, and your journey will be complete.
I can feel your anger. I am defenseless. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
You know, strike me down or strike him down and you'll become more powerful, or whatever the actual line is that he says. They obviously change it a little bit. They obviously change it so that it's not like complete plagiarize. It's like what they did with Luke Skywalker when he was training Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett, right? They said, don't try, do.
You're trying too hard. Don't try. Do.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. or do not. There is no try.
Instead of do or do not, there is no try, especially missing out on one of the most important parts of that entire lesson is the do not part. You know, they decided to put a little twist on it so that they can't say, or the fans can't say, oh, you're completely plagiarizing this, even though they basically are. But you know, the biggest thing that I see missing from everything that Leslye has said that inspired her about this show? What do you guys see? What do you guys see? I see that she wasn't even inspired by Star Wars. She's inspired by everything else. And like I said, ripping off scenes from, you know, you could even argue that she ripped off stuff from The Matrix with the style of fighting. And she also ripped stuff off from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the floating people and all these little bits and pieces that she's just ripped off from other things that are way better than what she could come up with. But wouldn't one of the biggest things that inspire you to make something to do with Star Wars be Star Wars? Now, you could argue, what are you talking about, Rhino? You've just mentioned that she was plagiarizing stuff from Star Wars. Yes, it's one thing to plagiarize from Star Wars. It's another thing to actually just make Star Wars and be inspired by Star Wars and Star Wars that came before. The only thing close to her mentioning that she was inspired by Star Wars is from a video game. And why? Probably because it's a woman. Honestly, it's probably because she's a woman. And I'd have no doubt, I actually have no doubt that she actually doesn't know the character. But again, like I said, everything that she's done, everything that has inspired her in this series has nothing to do with Star Wars. And then everything that I see that she mentions inspired her, whether it be Frozen, Kill Bill, Darth Treya, the Elden Ring reference, which I didn't even understand, or even Cowboy Bebop, I don't see any of that in any of the Acolyte. And it blows my mind that she can't even say that maybe the biggest thing that should inspire her is Star Wars.